begin this afternoon with a very special one-on-one session. Over the course of the last 2 decades, our next guest has been a leading voice for women, for her fellow Arab and Muslim community, and moreover, a leading voice for peace around the world. Conducting this special one-on-one session, we welcome to the stage Professor Kılıç. He's a member of Turkey's Presidential Security and Foreign Policy Council. And of course, please welcome to the stage with him, recipient of the Nobel Prize for Peace, Tawakkol Karman.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our one-on-one session on being the voice of conscience amid conflict. This is the second time we are having such an event with Ms. Karman, and almost 5 years ago, we were exiting from COVID, and we had this great meeting with her, and it generated a lot of discussion in Turkey, her statements and everything. And now, at that time, we were talking a little bit about COVID, how COVID can affect the world, etc. But now we are in the midst of another major turning point. Some people call it a transformation. Some leaders call it a rupture. Some others call it an erosion of international system. We are not still sure. We couldn't name it. There is no consensus about what has been going on around the world. However, we know that we are in a historic moment. So, academics have been discussing this for a long period of time, and in the last Davos and Munich Security Conference, this was a major topic. Everybody was talking about the future of international order, the crisis of international order, and what should be done. So, as a civil society leader, what is your perspective about the global order? And what is happening and how you read it?
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon all of you. Okay, how can we describe the situation now in the global order? I can describe it as dismantling the global order, as the erosion of the global order, and also as the big chance for countries and communities around the world to make this erosion as transitional to build a new world order. What really we are witnessing since the world order established after the World War II is, yes, a global order based on rules, a global order that depends on the international institution, on the respect of the international institutions, and also that is take its legitimation from the respect of human rights. But what we witness as a people, as a countries belonging to the third world, that this world order wasn't work very well. It plays double standard. It came just to serve the benefits, the interests of the greatest countries, and to lift other countries in the development countries and underdeveloped countries behind. So this is the big problems that we witnessed since the establishment of the world order. What is happening now, that the countries that established this world order are the one who destroy it, which is led by the America, by the United States, by Trump himself. He used the policy of destruction because he now see that the global order doesn't benefit America from his vision. And this is a very big risk. Yes, we were, and still criticize the world order, but what we were calling for is reforming the global order, to serve all the human beings as equal human beings, to serve all the countries as equal countries in the balance of the representative. For example, in the Security Council, that was the big shortage, the big problem in the world order when they gave the decision of the human rights, of the peace, of the security around the world, just to be under the hand of the 5 permanent countries. The veto was the most important criteria that make this world order collapse. So, with the IMF, the International World Bank, even with the International Criminal Court itself, which is a very important institution that serve and should serve the justice, there was many shortcomings that we want this International Criminal Court to serve really justice and to don't be limited with procedures, with veto, with Security Council, with the agreement or with the approval of countries that committed genocide, etc. But what is happening now is collapsing it. We should refuse that. We should refuse that. Now is the time for people, for countries that suffer from this imbalance in global order, to raise their voice and to don't accept the efforts of Trump administration, of America, in destroying the global order. We should work together to fix the global order, to rebuild it, to be fair, to help people. And this is number one. Now the global order, as you know, it's not just erosion, or dismantling, because now it's not based now in this time based on rules. It's based now on force and on business, deals. But there is a very big, important thing, that describes the deterioration. And here in Turkey, I will give a very important, call. When we talk about world order, it is not just about the wars that we're witnessing now, and we will discuss it more on the war, but also the deterioration in the humanitarian تضامن, conscience, collaboration. It's very important that now what we witness, that the cuts of AIDS everywhere, and the withdrawal from the United States as an example, from 66 international UN agencies, from the International Health Organization, from the Paris agreement. This is a very important and very big risk, a very important deterioration that we shouldn't accept. Now, US is cutting its aids. Britain is cutting its aids. French is cutting its aids. German is cutting its aids. And they left people behind. Now we are just, in 2015, all the humanity, all the countries gathered together for the Sustainable Development Agenda that we should face, we should succeed in the 2030. Now there is a very big, gap. There is no commitment in the international, Sustainable Development Agenda, and we should also focus on that. And this gap shouldn't be filled with dictatorial regime or with regimes that doesn't put the human interest, the human health, the human education, the human safety first. They just put the AIDS, just make it in the interest for they put it for the, or they provided in this area for the geopolitical benefits, for spreading their influence, hegemony over other countries. So Turkey has to do something, has to fill this gap, because humanity now really, really suffer from this withdrawal from the humanity collaboration, helping people around the world to fight poverty, to fight hunger, to fight disease. Unfortunately now, most of the great power, they are focusing in the military, in the militarization more than development. They put development just in the lens of their own interest or their geopolitical agenda.
Let me follow up. You mentioned UN Security Council reform, and this has been, for some people, it's also an exercise. For almost 2-3 decades, people have been talking about, academics, experts on these topics, international lawyers. Some state leaders were talking about UN Security Council reform. And President Erdogan mentioned that since 2014, morning session, Vice President mentioned that his message, the world is bigger than 5 was this.
Yes, I agree with that.
For the last couple of years, we have seen a transformation. This very elite level discussion started to be now discussed more efficiently by ordinary people. So now when we conduct polls, we see that ordinary people also want a reform in international order, etc., especially reform in international institutions such as UN Security Council. My question is, two things. You mentioned mostly Western countries and their responsibility about the systemic decline and systemic erosion. But what about, number one, global public? And number two, other countries, whether it is global south or countries in Asia, countries in different parts of the world. What can they do to reform international institutions and contribute to this maybe reform process?
Look, all these countries were, complain about double standard that they see with the administration, if we can call them, of the global order, because all the global order, was unfortunately established and managed by the Western countries. So those global countries, global South countries, people in Asia, countries in Asia, and all part in Latin America, and all of us has to fight the double standard and has to represent the international conscience, which refuses, injustice, refuses wars, refuses the big gap between rich and poor, and refuses the inequality between countries and within countries itself. So it's very important that what now we have to raise our voices. Again, we should be very loudly against the collapse of the global order, which means that this world should be ruled by the rules, not by force, not by military, not by wars. And at the same time, it should be ruled also by institution, global institution. And that means this global institution should have the power to implement the agenda of human being, the agenda of development, of human rights, of equality, of democracy, because even the democracy itself, it was also outcome of the global order. So now it is the origin, even with the democracy itself. Now we see the dictatorial regimes become, stronger and stronger and stronger. The dictatorial camps become stronger and stronger and stronger. And the Western countries also at the same time, they are in decline with the democracy as a values. Now what we are facing now, it is not just the crisis of the global order, the crisis of values, the crisis of conscience, the crisis of purpose. And we people who was been harmed by this injustice for decades, now we have to raise our voice and we have to unite, especially people in this region. Now, what we are, you introduced the session that I represent the international conscience. This is a very big, important responsibility, and this is what I did now when I refused the war against Iran. I am totally against the war against Iran because the main goal of of this war is to destroy Iran as a country, is to destroy its capability. It's to destroy the will of Iranian people against this authoritarian regime. I am with Iranian people in their revolution against the mullahs, the Malali's revolution. Against them, I am with the Iranian people. I support their revolution, but at the same time, again, I am against the war there because I know what America and what Israel want to this region. They doesn't want any strong country. They doesn't want any democracy in these countries, and they supported by the dictatorial regime in the region and also around the world. So this is the conscience. You have to refuse to choose between justice and injustice. Only thing that you have to choose is justice. You have to be to refuse to be tapped between dictatorial regime or insecurity. No, there is another chance, which is freedom, which is democracy, and we shouldn't now to be trapped or to choose between destroying the global order or staying in the old form of the global order. No, we have to gather ourselves together, and this is a very big chance. And I hope Turkey to lead this, this chance, to rebuild the new order to be, a just order that really serve all the human beings and don't leave anyone behind.
I will one more time. I will one more time pull you to global public opinion
and this is the global public opinion, by the way. Yeah. This is the global. This is not only my opinion. Now it is the opinion of the 14 years old generation around the world, 15 years old generation. This is because all now. What is the social media? While we criticize the social media, what they said, what they put. Now they make the knowledge, accessible for everybody. Now you see this tone is, you will see it in TikTok, in Facebook, in Twitter. People now is gathering themselves against injustice around the world, against the global dictatorial regime led by the Western countries that claim that they are support democracy while they destroy democracy from the day one. That they produce it, and at the same time.
Do you think social media here will be again instrumental to challenge the problems in global order?
Of course, it is a very big tool, important tool for the people to spread awareness, to gather people around the world. But at the same time, it became also the instrument of those dictatorial regimes and dictatorial international system, especially with the big tech companies that attack people, attack their freedom, using the algorithm to observe people. So it has two hands, and in a very bad way is controlling the life of people, observing them, guiding them to some choices, some chances, etc. And at the same time, it's the tool for the people who call for freedom, for justice, for collaboration. So it's a very important, thing. And without social media.
The dividing line here, you mentioned two things about social media, and that is the discussion, right? In the morning session, there was multiple people talking about the algorithmic manipulations, disinformation campaign, even things within the hybrid wars. So considering this, you are calling people to use social media to raise these issues. But what should be the dividing line? What should be the standard when people were using this? Is it digital literacy? What would you recommend for people as a civil rights activist?
But first, before talking about disinformation, which is now, it's the biggest challenge now that's facing the humanity and risks our life. But also I want to say that the biggest disinformation that was before the social media, it came from the United States when they invaded Iraq and when they said that there is a chemical weapons there. So there is a very big important, pillar of disinformation that produced by the governments that, you know, to spread hatred, to spread dictatorial system, to attack people, etc. And this is that used before the Twitter, before the social media, and when they use the live stream, you know, media in that moment. And now they use the social media, and this is now the biggest challenge that is facing us as a human rights, you know, defenders, as a people, as, you know, users. But at the same time, as I said, it's the tool of power that we people around the world should, you know, use it. And we have to be so skeptical. And this is what I tell all the students when I give, you know, speeches around the world. You shouldn't, this is the biggest weapons that you have it, and you shouldn't leave it, you shouldn't let anyone to fear you, to limit your ability to use it, and to use all the tools. Even unfortunately, it's controlled by the big companies, you know, administration with their algorithm, with their sanction, with their. So yes, you should use it. You should be skeptical about any information that you reach, and you have to search about it. At the same time, I was against the legislation, you know, against, you know, these platforms, because I use, and I'm still, you know, defender of free expression. But now I'm convinced that there should be some legislations that stop those companies of using algorithm in stopping the right of people to convey their voices, because this is what is happening now. They ban people from conveying their voices by banning, you know, shadow of their pages or closed them, like what happened with the Palestinians, with all, you know, contents of Palestinian issue. Most of them was, you know, banned, or most of the pages talk about Palestinian issue or about Gaza, about genocide in Gaza, was banned, was removed. And so we need some legislation that protect really the free expression, and at the same time protect the people from the misuse of the big tech companies that make the audience or the voice or the users as a custom, as a product, you know, for advertisement, etc., etc. So it is a very big challenge. But at the same time, without social media, we wouldn't see that big awareness that support the Palestinian issue, that, you know, that condemn the genocide in Gaza. And now, all, you know, most of the mass, you know, demonstrations and sit-ins came because the voices of Palestinian people was conveyed to the people, not because of the mainstream media, which some of them play a very good way, but because of the social media. So we should encourage people to use it. We should encourage also our innovator people, our intelligent people to also to invent another kind of platform, like Facebook, like Twitter, like Instagram, like Snap, like TikTok. You know, we need to make a very good space for people to convey their voices, but without any kind of, you know, limitation of the freedom of expression, because freedom of expression, freedom of voice is really something, you know, strengthening the society, not, you know, weakening that.
Last question, we have only 4 or 5 minutes left, about the role of women. And you are a women activist and got Nobel Peace Prize and have been since working on these issues in multiple different countries. You live in the United States, you live in Qatar, and you live in Turkey. And you can get the perspective of the women in multiple different regions. So tell me, how does the leadership of women in processes of crisis and transformation reshape debates on things like peace, representation, and legitimacy?
We are so active, by the way, and we proved that in our, you know, in Arab Spring. And women, you know, prove that she can, and she is the one who really lead the countries during, especially, you know, the crisis, especially the wars, the revolution. But unfortunately, when the situation be, you know, stable, unfortunately, you know, women, you know, become, in the back seats. But in general, I am so proud of the role of women in Arab region and the role of women now in all around the world. And I call women to be more strong, more visible, talking about a very serious subjects, about economy, about justice, about freedom, about corruption, about global order, and to contribute in everything, especially, that doesn't, make that woman should be out of her house, shouldn't play a role in her house as a mom, with her husband as a father, or with her family. So we have to be there because community, society needs us, and we need the people. And women should be there for all the people, not just for all women, not just for women. And I always say that women rights is human rights. You couldn't talk about women's rights if you don't talk about accountability, because accountability is the only thing that will really save women's rights, kids' rights, human rights. And what we witness now, by the way, with the origin of the global order, is the absence of accountability in the international level and in the national level. Even again in the democratic countries, especially now what we witness with the US. I know that Turkey has a very good relationship with the Trump administration, but no, even if you have that good relationship with him, but you shouldn't trust him. You shouldn't trust the origin that Trump is doing with the global order. You shouldn't trust what Trump is doing with the International Peace Hub or Council. No, the global order should be something else than what Trump and this richest, people around the world, that they want to control the world. We want people, just people. As a woman, I want very, integrate people, integrate countries to lead this country, to lead this world. And that will not be happen if we women be silent, if we people be silent. If research countries, research centers be silent. We have to speak up, and we have to be there, anywhere, everywhere, raise our voice, talking about the problems, and also putting the solution. And now the solution, we have to, and this is the chance, we should unite. And this is the very historical moment that every countries, every people around the world that suffer from injustice around the world, they have to unite themselves, for saving the world from the rise of, of authoritarian regimes and of the collapse of the world. So I am a woman. I represent most of brave women around the world. They represent me. I'm so proud to be a woman. I'm so proud to be here in Turkey. I love this country. I support women in Turkey, and I see a very strong, great women here that can do a lot of things, and in all Arab people. And here, I send a very big tribute to women in Iran who suffer a lot from the authoritarian regime there. I send a very big salute to women in my country, Yemen, who suffer from coup and from regional interference. I salute women in Syria who did a great work on overthrowing the regime of Bashar al-Assad. I salute women in Palestine who are against occupation and who still fight for justice, for freedom. I salute women in the US who are now against racism, against fascist regime, against the collapse of the democracy I salute women in Ukraine. I have a lot of great women in Ukraine. They are doing very well against the aggression and the war of Russia. We have a lot of big duties as women, as men, and this is the voice of conscience, of the international conscience. Be with the people. Be with the people, and don't accept any deterioration in human rights and democracy. This is our great victory. Even if there was shortcomings, but we should unite to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Please join me in thanking the
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.